You're watching The Whole Living Show on Trajectory TV.
5 years ago, the Power of We Symposium was created to provide a platform for kids from all sectors where they could have a safe and comfortable environment in which to share both their joys and concerns. The Power of We Symposium is proud to have served over 250 kids throughout Romania when we took our mission global back in May of 2023. Now, 2 teams of amazing volunteers from both the U.S. and Romania embarked on an 8-day Legacy of Hope tour, bringing encouragement and hope to not only the kids of Romania, but also the adults who support them, and also to over 100 kids here in the U.S. who contributed handwritten letters of hope to our Romania mission of 2023. Now, this year, we are proud to provide this opportunity yet again in October, and we are super excited to up our game. New venue, 750 kids this time, and we want to see you there. We're looking forward to meeting you in person at this year's event, which promises, as always, incredible speakers, amazing content, and of course, some of the greatest kids on the planet. So, mark your calendars for October 24th, and we'll see you here in Chicagoland for the Power of We Symposium 2024. This year's theme is Always Together, Never Alone. Tickets are available now on Eventbrite or at powerofwesymposium.com.
Operate out of your dreams and your vision and not other people's expectation. Having breast cancer wasn't my choice, but the decision to live healthy so that I could stand before you here today, that's choice. You can choose this very moment to change your life from every perspective.
Tracy Randolph was our speaker. She came back because so many people liked her first presentation. I was one of those people that joined her fitness group, and it made me a better leader.
I grew up in a community, but they had limiting beliefs on what a little black girl could do. Everything that you do in this life is a choice. I choose to live healthy. I choose to change my mindset. I choose to be everything that I dreamed of because I choose faith and I choose me. Live healthy, be everything that you can be today. Choose yourself.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Whole Living Show. We are excited that you are here. And as always, we have an amazing guest that has come to share her brilliance and expertise with us. But before we get started with our guest, I just wanted to share some news with you. I thought this was pretty interesting, so I wanted to share this with you. So Nestle, the company Nestle, has released now that they are doing a lineup of food for people on Ozempic and other GLP-1 drugs like Wegovy and others. So now they're starting this new frozen food brand called Vital Pursuit, which consists of 12 portion-controlled meals high in protein and fiber. I'm going to pause there for a minute because we're going to get into this and question that just a little bit. All right. As my son is moving around in the background here, everyone, this is real life right here. This is real life. But I wanted to share this with you because I want to know what your thoughts are on this. Nestle, it's the first brand for Nestle specifically for people on drugs like Ozempic. So I'm even questioning how I understand why they're putting it out there that way. Marketing. This is marketing, right? Because there are a lot of people now who are taking drugs to assist with weight loss. But this is a marketing tactic because they're saying now this food, and I'm putting up my quotes, and you guys know how I do this. I do share, my thoughts here when it comes to healthy living. They're saying that the food is specifically for people on Ozempic and other drugs like Ozempic. But my question is, what in particular makes it so good for people who are taking weight loss drugs? So I know that they are doing portion control, but that is nothing new. But they are doing this in the form of frozen meals, which they are saying are going to be loaded with fiber and iron and things like potassium. So they're saying that they're going to have these foods that are enriched with nutrients that you need. I'm going to tell you this: whenever you buy something in a package, everyone, please make sure that you read and understand the ingredients. I'm not saying that Nestle is not putting out good products, and I don't have anything against the company itself. But I want to make sure that when we hear things like this, where they are marketing in a certain way that's going to be specific for your weight loss, that you understand exactly what's in the product before you decide to consume it. So I just wanted to give you a bit of that. They're saying that the results have showed that the average weight loss for people using the medications that they are mentioning, where people have been able to sustain their weight for 208 weeks or 4 years, and Nestle is looking to assist in those efforts to allow people to keep the weight off. Okay. Nestle is also, just to put this out there as well, they are also the company that is known for lean cuisine, which has been around for a very long time. But they are saying that that option is less attractive now because lean cuisine is an older form of, frozen food that Nestle put out years ago to assist people who wanted to lose weight. So now they have this new and improved Vital Pursuit, is the name of it. That is the name of the food that's coming out soon in order to assist you with weight loss. So I just wanted to mention that, but I always want to let you know that anytime that you are buying things in a package, that you understand exactly what you're eating. They're saying that this is the new scientific way to weight loss when it comes to consuming your food and having available, convenient options for you. So just make sure that you understand what's in the product. And that's it for Nestle. That's it for this part of the segment, everyone. So go out there and just take a look at it if you're interested in it. If you are using the medication and you are looking for convenient ways to consume food and to be able to cook food faster, make sure that you understand what you're consuming. All right. So now, everyone, we have an amazing guest for you backstage. Her name is Kandice Whitaker. Kandice Whitaker is an MBA. She is a visionary leader, and she is the CEO of Alpha and Omega Consulting Incorporated. She is renowned for her impactful contributions across top consulting firms, government, and higher education. She has almost 2 decades of expertise in advisory and corporate training. Kandice is dedicated to empowering individuals through storytelling and relatable humor. As the host of the Bail Yourself Happy Hour, podcast, she extends her influence beyond her role as CEO. She is passionately dedicated to nurturing profound connections and is fervently committed to aiding individuals in the fierce pursuit of their dreams and their lives. Her commitment to inspiring others is evident in her role as a mompreneur, coffee snob, and avid traveler. Kandice Whitaker stands not only for her professional acumen, but for her genuine impact on the lives of those she encounters. And we're going to get into this conversation, but I would like you to give her a virtual round of applause. Welcome, Kandice.
Thank you so much for those kind words. And thank you for having me as a guest today. I am so excited to be part of the conversation. And I was dying to make a comment on that Nestle thing.
Please do. Please do before we get started. Please do.
Well, my first thought was this. What you mentioned was lean cuisine. And I am old enough to remember when lean cuisine came out.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't it marketed as the diet food to look how you wanted back in the day. Everybody knows lean cuisine.
Yeah.
Okay, so can we be clear on the fact that that didn't work? Because if it did, they'd be like, oh, look at the people who ate lean cuisine and it
Right.
worked.
And maybe no need for the medication, right?
I see this as a marketing ploy. Shame
Yeah.
on you. You know what
Yeah.
you're doing. Stop it.
Yeah. And the fact that they're marketing it in that way, you know, to say that we're making food for people who are on this medication.
They're marketing to people's desperation.
Yeah.
And that is the toxic side of what we have here,
Yeah.
corporate nationalism.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. And that's why I like to, you know, air these things on the show to let people
No.
know that you need to really pay attention to what you're consuming and not buy into the marketing ploys of these companies, because they're capitalizing on what's happening, right? They're capitalizing on, like you said, the desperation, the emotion that comes with the weight loss, and the need for weight loss medication. And you know, there are people who need the medication, right? Let's be clear, but maybe there are some people who need the medication. So I'm not, you know, anti or pro anything. I think individuals should have autonomy over what they do when it comes to their bodies and their physical, mental, and spiritual health. But I just, it drives me nuts when these companies decide that they're going to capitalize on that and, you know, just kind of feed into just the emotional, I'm going to say sometimes instability, right? Where people have some emotional instability around things like weight loss, because it's not just specifically weight loss. This in particular is, but where there is some instabilities where they're capitalizing on that. So it drives me crazy. So I have to put it out there, because there's a way to, you know, tailor what you choose to consume, right? With whole foods, with real food, and still take the drugs, right? That's a decision that a person has to make individually, but there's a way to do it without having to go the frozen food route.
And I would venture to say if they went the whole food route as opposed to something that's frozen and filled up with preservatives, it would be better for you overall.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always tell people, when you're looking at something that's in a package, right? Any food that's in a package, that you know exactly what the ingredients are. And if you don't know what the ingredients are, and if you look them up and you still don't know exactly what they are, then don't eat it. Just don't eat it. Yeah. So leading into, you know, who you are and the conversation, based on the conversation that we had before, I know that you love to empower individuals, which is why I'm sure you were so passionate about hearing what we were discussing about Nestle, because you love to empower people to be better, to do better in their lives and in their businesses. So let's talk about how you got started. How did you get started as a business coach?
That is a great question. So I got started, it was a roundabout journey. How about that?
Okay.
Right? So during COVID, like a whole bunch of people,
Yeah.
I think, you know, I had time like everybody else. And I said, you know, I should get some proper coaching training, because before then I had been coaching for a very long time, but it was just more on gut, not on facts. And one of the things that is important to me in my life is that, and I'll take myself out of it, I need you to have some sort of I need you to have some sort of credentials. Candace Speaks Take Two, right? I mean, if you need a certificate on the wall to trim my hair,
Yeah.
right? In order for me to speak into your life and to your future, I should have some sort of credential, some sort of something that people can have vetted and said that I'm not crazy.
Sure.
That's how I feel about other people who are dealing with me. And I felt like it was only fair for me, who was doing coaching, but not in a very formal way, to make the relationship more formal and to pursue it in that way. And so during COVID, I went and I got this training, and you know, it was very open. So it was more like life coaching training,
which is very specific, and people have their thoughts about it.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in therapy and I also believe in coaching,
Yeah.
but life coaching just didn't seem like a good fit for me. I'm just very matter of fact. I'm very black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Don't come and tell me the same thing every week. You already told me that and you haven't made any changes. I don't want to hear it again this week.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I love that.
So for me, I said, because I know me, well, what are you good at? What do people come to you to talk about specifically? It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't their life per se. It was more like, okay, how do I get this job?
Mm-hmm.
What do I need to say at this interview? My
Mhm.
business is doing this. Those things I realized was my niche. I mean, it was there right there. It was there the whole time. I didn't see it. The word
Yeah.
says it this way, your gift will make room for you.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I wasn't paying it any mind. I was like, you're right. I was doing people's resumes at Trust and getting them 6-figure jobs before I had one myself.
Talk about that a little bit. And how, I mean, just that speaks to the type of coach that you were, right? And are, right? So talk a little bit about that. Like what came up for you as you are assisting other people in these large salaries and, expanding for themselves, and you're seeing, I guess, where you're in a different spot. Talk about how that felt, what it means to you.
So, well, let me start by saying this. I believe that before you are given anything in your life,
Mm-hmm.
there's always a test that comes before, because I believe in the creator's grand scheme of things, he's more concerned with your attitude and how you act and less concerned about the things that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So I live my life with that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is speaking as a 40-something-year-old woman, 25-year-old Kandice, I don't know that I had that level of acumen at that point, but we were working on it, right?
Sure.
So I could give you a perfect example from my uncle. When I was like 25, he was retiring from, was it the police? I think it was the police at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And he was looking for a federal job, as people who live in the DMV do, if the Washington, D.C. area. And he's like, Kandice, can you do my resume? So I was like, okay. I just did what I normally did, pulled up a little Word back in the day, put together a resume, put together the keywords. And then this dude got 6 figures and I'm sitting over there making $50,000. I'm very happy for you and your job. It was great. Congratulations. But I really was happy for him. But at the same time, I knew 25-year-old Kandice, I was doing good for where I was.
Yeah.
And that also speaks to, you don't have to have the whole package to be a coach.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
If you just know one more thing in this one area,
Mm-hmm.
you can be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of us don't know everything that we need to know to be successful, right? In anything. So, not only do I coach, I am open to receive.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to be teachable.
Yeah. And it's about, you said it earlier, but it's about the impact, right? It's about you serving other people, and knowing that, my time will come when it's supposed to come, however it's supposed to come, right? Be it, finances, more freedom, whatever that looks like. But knowing that the impact is a lot more important than, I would say being jealous, right, of where other people are versus yourself. So I love that you said that. So talk a little bit about how you impact and support. I want to say women, because I know when we spoke, it's more women leaders, women business owners, women, corporate executives. Talk about how you support them.
I wouldn't say that I support mainly women. I'm going to say Black and brown people. I say I serve the seasoned diaspora.
Okay.
It's just because of Black women's place in the United States. We are the largest group of bachelor's degree holders in the country. Shout out to Black Girl Magic. That's just who happens to be the business owners.
Yeah.
But certainly we can't leave our Black kings behind, because they out here doing it too. And they certainly have a different set of challenges, even though, they intersect. So, what was the question? I forgot now.
I was saying, talk about how you support them. How do you support your clients?
So that's a great question. So
Mhm.
I believe that in order to holistically get to the life you want, it starts with community. So one
Mhm.
of the biggest things that I do is I create community around this, right? So we have the podcast, Bail Yourself Out podcast. We have a business owners networking group so we can talk about the ghetto-ness of being a business owner, small business owner. And I say
Mhm.
that tongue in cheek, right? Because I think the thing that people don't realize most is that being a business owner is hard, right?
Mhm.
Being an employee is not easy, right? It's just a
Mhm.
different set of hard.
Yeah.
And, as a child who's been educated in the United States, we're mostly educated to be employees.
Mhm.
So when you go into this entrepreneurial path, you
Mhm.
very often leave behind those people who are closest to you because they cannot relate to you in a
Yeah.
lot of different ways. The things you're talking about, they don't know nothing about. You actually
Yeah.
sound like you're bragging. So it can be
Yeah.
a very lonely, difficult space. So I feel like my place in the space of African American, people of color, the seasoned diaspora, everybody who seasons your food,
Mhm.
to create a community
Mhm.
of people who are similar and have similar goals. Mhm.
Yeah. And talk a little bit about, because I know it's hard to make the transition from the employee mindset to now business owner. Talk about how you support, that transition. Are you
Oof. That is a loaded question. And I will say to you that it took me a very long time to make that transition
Mm,
from the employee mindset to I'm the business owner
mm,
because it's so nuanced and there's so many levels and there are so many layers.
mm,
And last season, I did a podcast with, I see his face, Jonathan Mentor.
mhm,
And he is a coach, but he coaches people to take their business 10 million and up, right?
mm,
So we working
mhm,
on that. We getting there.
mhm,
So he focuses on revenue. He is a revenue coach. And one of the things that he talked about in focusing on revenue and being a business owner is
mhm,
you have to transition from doing the everyday responsibilities of your job to or of your business rather to growing and
mm,
scaling your business, right? So you can bring more people in,
yeah,
affect more change in the community or whatever it is you're trying to do. He
yeah.
said, because otherwise you're buying yourself a job, and I almost passed out.
Mm, that's good. That is good.
I know.
Yeah. So now,
That
so
was good, right? I know.
yeah, yes, 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 yes. You are buying yourself a job. Woo,
I was
that's
like,
so good.
I think I bought myself a job. I need to make
Yeah,
some changes.
I can remember working with these other coaches too, and they were saying it the same way, but they were saying, "Are you an entrepreneur or are you actually a business owner?" And what they meant by that was the entrepreneur is the person that does everything solo, right? That exactly what you said. They're doing every part of the business, and a business owner understands how they need other people, how to delegate things, and how to build and scale. So I love that you said that because it's very difficult. So talk about those strategies. I was asking you, but I want you to mix this question in with that part too. What specific strategies do you employ to empower and support your business owners for overcoming barriers like the one we just mentioned to be able to achieve success in their business?
It all starts with community.
Mm,
So the direct cause of
hmm
a person being super self-reliant
hmm
is probably related to trauma from dealing with unreliable people.
Yes. Hmm.
That doesn't come from nowhere,
Oh, and
right?
I gotta ask this part too, because that is so typical of the diaspora, right? Like
Right.
it's yeah. So even talk about the psychology around that. Like, what have you seen with people? Because for our people, that is definitely the case where we have there's a lack of trust there, particularly when it comes to our communities and business and money and right. So talk about that. Like, how do you help people get through that?
Well, first of all, you have to come from a place of understanding, right?
Mm,
I took last year this time a coaching class with somebody else.
mhm.
And because coaches need to be coached, honey, right?
Yes.
Iron sharpens iron.
Yes.
And this class was clearly for a different demographic than me,
Mm, mhm.
because we made a really wonderful product. It was like, great, I finally have a package that I can sell. This was
Mm,
great. I got a
mm,
package because I had really long time and I have a package. And then the next ask was, make a list of 100 contacts that you know and reach out to them so you
mm.
can pitch them.
Yeah.
Who got 100 contacts?
Yeah.
So me and all the other people who look like me in the class, we got together and was like, you got 100? No, I got about 47, maybe 52.
Yeah.
What we gonna do?
Yeah.
Right? So it was in those conversations in the community that we were able to put our heads together and actually got the answer from yet another person, a friend of mine in my community who's an entrepreneur. She said, girl, I went on Fiverr and got me somebody to pull me a list for $17 of
Mm.
folks to pitch.
Wow.
So that is why community is so important. I
Yeah.
think the easiest thing to do when you come from a place of people being very unreliable to you,
Yeah.
you can't do this alone. You're going to
Mm.
try, you're going to stress yourself out, you're going to die. Don't
Yeah.
do that. There
Yeah.
are other people. You just have to find your community. You got to find your people. And so that is why my calling is to say, yo, you're not alone. There are other people like you. We can
Mhm.
all learn from each other.
I love that. And I can remember, trying the MLMs, right? Years prior, right? And listen, nothing's wrong with those if that's what people are looking to do and how they want to build business. But it was for that reason that I was not successful, right? It was the mindset and not having the community to know how to really build it. But it was that mindset of, I don't have all of these people that are going to spend this money on these products, right? Right. So, and back then I could say that I thought it was the system, right? Something's wrong with the system, right? Or they just charge too much. But that wasn't it. Really, it was exactly what you just explained.
It's the systems. And then also, we don't really take into the account, because I'm a history nerd in all things, the devastation that was wreaked on our families of 400 years of oppression.
Yeah.
The fact of it is, in my family, I'm the first generation born in
Mhm.
this country with my rights intact. My
Mm.
my family has documented evidence of being in this family for in this country for over 200 years.
Wow.
Documented evidence.
Wow.
We can't get around that fact.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about accumulation of wealth with a 200-year head start, people who got their aunts and uncles who were lawyers and stuff, we don't have that a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah.
In some circles we do, but for the most part we don't. But you know what? That's the sad part. But the good news is, for what we have done a hell of a job to
Mm.
get to where we are. So
Yeah.
kudos to us on that. And the best is yet to come. And I believe that.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's so good. We have to take a quick commercial break. I hate to stop it here, but when we come back, I just want you to be able to provide some examples of, how you, like, some struggles that you've known that people have, particularly around, I would say, give, a business struggle, maybe around operating their business, but then also, again, around this subject, around the years of trauma, around, how you help them get through, how to operate the business, how to deal with the trauma and the struggles around that. And we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, everyone. We're going to take this quick commercial break and come right back to speak to Kandice of Alpha and Omega Consulting.
people when they're trying to really get focused and productive to ignore the hey bros because they're low priority. Your motivation, create your checklist, and then that's the formula, man.
And we are back, everyone. We're going to bring Kandice back in. And I just wanted to put up here a banner that allows you to reach out to Kandice. This is on social media at Alpha and Omega Consulting. She is on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. So just wanted to put that out there. We will show that again, and wanted to also show you, because she mentioned earlier, Bail Yourself Out podcast. Make sure that you look for the Bail Yourself Out podcast anywhere podcasting is viewed and heard. All right. So when we went to commercial break, we were talking about, how you helped entrepreneurs get into this question of how you helped entrepreneurs in operating their business, but also how to get unstuck around the years and years of trauma for building business.
So I do talk to entrepreneurs, but I also talk to people. I don't want to leave out the folks who I do career coaching for.
Mm-hmm.
So many of the things that we talk about is very similar. And this is one of them, right? Because if you're a person from the seasoned diaspora who's trying to make it in corporate, sometimes it's ghetto there.
Yeah.
And, it is also true that you probably don't have anybody in your family who has a whole lot of experience with that. So we need some help navigating there as well.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing that I always do standardly, well, let me take a step back. There's nothing that I always do. It's very individualized.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like now, I'm right off the cuff. I've been on a lot of podcasts. We never talked about this before, right? So, and I think that's important because in order to really affect change and meet individual needs, you got to understand what they want intimately.
Yeah.
So it first starts with listening and understanding. What do you need? What are your main challenges? And so how can we help you get from where you are to where you need to be? I had a business owner a couple of months ago reach out to me because she was renting a space. I want to say she was in mental health, and it's COVID. People are not coming in offices anymore, but she's now stuck into this lease, which is, several years long. That she's like, what do I do with my space? I said, okay. Have you considered doing a shared space option? Have you considered maybe renting it out for people to shoot videos, like folks who work from home and they want to do like a professional little office video? Have you considered that? So that was kind of a simple solution. So she was able to use one of the websites. I'm not going to say any names because nobody's paying me.
Right.
Where you can list your space to be shared.
Yeah.
And so that was an easy check mark. I had another young lady who I think might be watching because I texted to her, who was in a situation where she lived in a place, she grew up in a place, deep down south, and was just like, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, what do I do? And she was a completely lovely young lady. How old was she? About 26, 27, right? So, she had a young man that she was dealing with who was in Florida. And I said, baby, don't nobody go to Florida for career growth.
Right.
It's not the place.
They go to retire.
Yes, that is not the place you go for career growth.
Right.
That's number one. And number two, do not go behind nobody's ashy child with no ring unless you want to actually be there.
Yeah.
We had to go full auntie on that. And I said, no, let's not focus on this person. What do you want to do? And I think that's something that everybody can benefit from, especially women, because very often we don't even consider what we want in the equation.
Yeah.
And that's problematic.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you don't take that cookie cutter approach. I think when oftentimes people feel like, okay, I'm not getting the results that I want from this particular coach, but they're following like a set program that may not be right for them. So I love how you look at the individual and say, okay, how do we meet your needs? Not just, just it's one way and that's it.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think my approach is a little bit different because of my background in education, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my business, aside from coaching, I do training, development. That's what I've done for the last 20 years. And I do custom training. So I definitely believe that is core and quintessential to what I do in all of my business offerings. In order to really be able to meet your core performance indicators, you got to understand what a person wants.
Yeah.
They told you they wanted pink apples and you brought Red Delicious.
Yeah. That doesn't work.
They have no flavor. They're disgusting.
That's right. That's right. Yes. So talk a little bit about that part of your background and how that has assisted you in becoming a coach. When you're in the training space and in that corporate. It was mostly corporate. Well, it said you said government, corporate, education, right? So you've got a little bit of flavor here in different industries.
Yeah, well, so I can tell you that I started out in education. Like my first job at a college, my first real job was in education. And, I've always had an interest in real estate. So I've been a licensed realtor for like many years. Anyway, so we digress. I got into corporate training initially because the school I worked at was a private school. And they were like, we really love you. We want to bring you back. But it was a contract job. And I was like, I don't have contract bills. So let me go get me a job. So, it was literally just a need at that time. I was about 24 at the time, right? So I start this corporate job in IT. I mean, I knew about IT, but we really was just off dial-up at that time. So things were very rudimentary at that point in history. So I worked as a business analyst and I got a lot into change management. So at that point, I did, I'm doing higher education. I was in healthcare IT. I've gone to state government, federal government, worked a whole lot of different places in my almost 20-year career, but mainly in the change management space. So actually, what I've done is very much like coaching. The only difference in what I do in terms of my professional career and my coaching side of the business is the number of people you're doing it for.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. I love
very
it.
similar work.
Yeah. I love that. So how would you say you tailor we've talked about this, right? And you talk about the individual. Can you give us some examples of like how you tailor your approach for their business landscape, like for them to be able to, deal with whatever the issues are, work-life balance, if you're doing corporate people too. So if there's like gender bias, how do you, tailor your approach to help with those issues?
So there's a lot of things. Before I start anything in relation to coaching, it always starts with an assessment. Because I've learned that very often people will say they want to see X outcome. But sometimes they may have a difficulty seeing of how they're contributing to Y problem. So part of my assessment is looking at the problem, looking at the person with the solution in mind, but then you also have to calculate and carry the one and see how flexible that person is. And how honest can you be with the person? How coachable are they? Because everybody ain't coachable.
Yeah.
Everybody wants change, they say.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about situations of discrimination, I'm going to be very clear. Although I have worked on projects related to diversity training, what used to be affirmative action back in the day, I don't just jump on those projects. And I'm going to tell you why. Shout out to Dr. Zalman if you're listening. He was one of my mentors for many years. He was a professor of mine in grad school, and he peeped me the game on that a long time ago. He was like, listen, 9 times out of 10, the only time a company wants to have some sort of diversity training is because they have been sued.
I was going to say they have to fill some legal need, right?
So, like, do you really want to involve yourself in that?
Right.
So for me, if it is somebody being proactive and this is something that they have established and not directly related to some sort of punitive measure, then okay, we can have a conversation, because the level of flexibility, going back to the audience, is going to be different, right? You know how you act when it's something you have to do versus something that you want to do. I want to deal with clients who want to do it. My litmus test is, do they like, love, and trust me? If not, there are other people willing to take your money. It's just not me.
Right. I love that too. And that's hard though in corporate, right? Just me coming out of that corporate space too, because a lot of it is just more about compliance than it is about, the people, right? The
That
human
part.
resources part. Yeah. So that's, oh gosh, so notable for you to say that, but very hard in that space. So how did you, because now I'm curious, how did you kind of get around that, work through it, or even work with those who were hiring you to say, no, it needs to be like this in order for you to get the most out of my training versus, just worrying about compliance?
Well, honestly, for me, if I get the sense from an organization in the beginning, this is not something they really want to do, they just are trying to check the box, I'm not that person. I'm not doing this with you. I learned a long time ago, that's one of the benefits of being an entrepreneur, right? You get the ability to be able to say, you know what? This is not going to work. It's not you. It's not, it's not you, it's me, baby. Like, we can break up. It's okay.
Yeah.
And I've learned, and it's been a hard lesson. Don't get me wrong. I don't want you to feel like I'm just like, nah, it's not going to work. But I've learned in the long run, it is better to be able to assess that upfront and cut your losses, as opposed to go through a long, treacherous process with someone who does not want to be there.
Yeah.
Because, baby, I bring way too much to the table for you to act like I'm bothering you when I'm just doing my work.
Yeah. I love that. And that goes with, so that now you're leading me into something else, because that goes with knowing your worth and your value. Yeah.
I teach people every day how to treat me. If you don't respect yourself, don't expect nobody else to.
Yeah.
And
So
it's
now,
not arrogance.
right. It is what it is. It's like, this is my expertise. This is my area. I'm valuable, right? Right. So
Period.
how do you help now the business owners or the corporate leaders that you work with in understanding their own value? Because I'm sure that's a big part of it too, right?
So that's interesting in and of itself. And that probably could be another whole podcast, because a lot of time insecurity in leaders shows up as anger. It shows up as micromanaging. It shows up as overall ineffectiveness as a leader.
And yeah.
So here's the thing. Whether you're going to be a leader in corporate or you're going to lead your own business, one of the things that everybody needs to do is work on yourself. For me, it's Jesus and therapy. I have a standing appointment every week. Everybody know Jesus and therapy every week.
Yeah.
Because you really have got to work on the things within yourself that are holding you back if you are going to maximize what is within you. You have a choice. You don't have to. You can be sad about going to therapy or care about what people think. That is also a choice. but then you have to live with the results of maybe not living the life that you want to live.
Yeah. Yeah. And now you made me think of something else too, because your niche, your avatar is the diaspora, right? And you know the old saying about, we don't go to therapy, right? Like,
Mm.
so how do you help people kind of work through that? Because I'm sure that has come up as you are coaching people, as you are training. How do you help people even get around that? Like going to get the help that you need that's really going to serve you well in all areas of your life?
So that's a great question. So I feel like that's part of being teachable,
Mm, yeah.
because I'm not a therapist.
Hmm.
And I make no claims to fame in that regard. I am not going to try to unpack years of childhood trauma or relational trauma. That's not my thing.
Yeah.
I can listen once, don't
Hmm.
repeat multiple times, once.
Hmm. Hmm.
but, but like, I am not that person.
Yeah.
And, I can tell you what I've learned in therapy. I
Hmm.
can tell you how it's helped me.
Hmm.
I can also gently point out the things that you might want to consider
Hmm. Hmm.
that may be able to be affected by a conversation with a licensed professional.
Hmm.
But I think that speaks to your overall level of being teachable.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
some people are, and some people are not. But that's a choice. That's very limiting.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that, you have the courage to even say it, right? Because even that in and of itself may help people recognize that, oh, well, maybe I need help, because looking at you, a strong woman, understanding her value, knowing what you bring to the table, and having the courage to say, you know what? Two things that are non-negotiable for me. That's Jesus and therapy, right? And people may look at that and say, well, maybe I need to do something about the things that I'm struggling with, the things that I'm going through, or just everyday life, right? You don't even have to have any trauma. It could just be everyday life is getting the best of you. Go get some help. So I love that you put that out there, right? Because it just shows the strength, and it may help somebody else say, okay, let me do this as well. So we unfortunately are getting close to the close of the show. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to give some closing remarks, anything that you want to tell the people that you serve, anybody who is aspiring to do more in corporate, or who is either starting a business or wants to next level their business. What would you say?
I would say build your community, build your tribe, find your people.
Mm.
You can follow us. You want to become a virtual coworker. That's what I call us. That's the
Mhm.
team. Virtual coworkers on the Bail Yourself Out Happy Hour podcast. We're about to head into season 3 next month. And we talk about all things business and careers.
Mhm.
And certainly you will find people who are looking for their next level. Now, I do want to say this.
Mhm.
I love to speak to the people who are the corporate renegades. And I call the corporate renegades those people who you could be C-suite or a director, but you're just chilling
Mhm.
because you are at this level because you got all these other pots on the stove and you doing other stuff, and you have
Mhm.
your eye on real estate, or you have your eye on making this next move, whether it be a restaurant or anything like that.
Mhm.
Those are my people. So if that
Mhm.
sounds like you, pull on up.
Yeah. Oh, so now you led me to another question too. For the corporate renegades, should they stay in corporate while they are building business, right? And how long, right? Because I know that's normally a question that people have. Well, when do I break? When do I release myself from corporate? Or do I even have to, for that matter?
I think it depends. I don't think there's a one size fits all answer. I think there are some people who are fine with, let me take a step back.
Mm-hmm.
This all starts with knowing yourself, and that's why you need to go to therapy.
Mm-hmm.
You got to know yourself and really be honest about what you want.
Mm-hmm.
You can't come to me and ask me that, because I'm gonna tell you, I don't know. That is your decision. Right now, I can help you to find some things that you're good at and try to go in that direction. But ultimately, how long you stay in corporate, or if you stay in corporate, that's all on you. You're going to tell me what you're going to do, and we're going to get to that goal. Some people, maybe they're a teacher. They have their summers off. They want a side hustle, or, it could be a full-time hustle in the summertime. I told you I was a real estate agent. That's what I did. There's no reason why you can't do both of those things. Or maybe you just make balloon animals. That's another good side hustle. Maybe you braid hair. You don't have to quit your job to braid hair. It depends on what you want to do.
Yeah.
You make your life, and that's the whole point of being a corporate renegade. You make your rules.
Yeah. I love that. You heard it here, everybody. She is just real. I love the realness. It's real and it's raw, but it's the truth. And it's what people really need, and to understand that, because I think we look at social media and everybody thinks, especially now, right? Everybody's an entrepreneur and everybody's doing business and everybody says they're doing so great in business. If you just do this and if you just do that, and that's not real. It's not real. So I love the realness that you bring here to say, do it your way, however it is that you want to do it, whatever the vision is that you have for yourself. And if you're okay with still being in corporate, you don't have to do it the way people are doing it on social media. If you want to do both, if you want to do one or the other, make it work for you and make it what's right for you. And the key thing that you heard Kandice say here is knowing yourself. In order to be able to be that corporate leader, build business, be effective in your household and every other area of your life, know yourself. So I appreciate this conversation. I love the realness of it. I love it. So we want to just display again how people can reach you on social media. It is Alpha and Omega Consulting. And again, that's on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on Instagram. And then also you want to make sure that you go over to anywhere where you do your podcasting and go listen to or watch the Bail Yourself Out podcast. Make sure that you connect with Kandice. If you are out there and you are looking to get some assistance in how you continue to next level your life, however that is for you, corporate leaders, business owners, make sure that you reach out. All right, Kandice, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. This has been great. Everybody, stay tuned for next week's episode on overcoming trauma. We're going to have Maurice Moore joining us next week. See us here at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right. Yes, and I'm looking for, all right, here we go. This is real life, you guys. Take care.